Hey everyone, how's it going today? Welcome to my podcast where we smoke and jump down the rabbit hole on a bunch of different topics. And I'd love it if you join me today. You might need it for this one. It's going to get a little bit crazy because I'm talking about some pretty crazy stuff from the Bible. Yeah, there's going to be lots of crazy Bible talk today, but that's okay because I'm going to give you my own take on it. And hopefully I can keep you entertained while I shove weird information in your brains. Oh yes, my friends, today takes a bit of a turn. We're talking about the Bible mentioning the deep state. Oh yeah, the Bible has some pretty crazy stuff in those thin little pages, and it can blow your mind. These stories are so close to the real world and what's happening right now. It's hard not to see it or believe it. And not only does it talk about the deep state, but it also says how we can fight it. So roll your doobies and grab your snacks, people. We're jumping down the rabbit hole. Oh, yes, today's getting crazy. The passage I'm talking about today is called the Armor of God. And the story goes that we are all in this huge battle, and it's a battle to recreate a better world. And the devil is really good at what he does, and he has this huge army, and that army's only job is to fuck with us. They want to throw us off of the path of making the world better. And it will eventually become this huge and real war between good and evil. But don't worry too much, because apparently we have been provided this amazing armor that we can wear every day to always be prepared and to win this battle. And we conspiracy theorists, that some like to call us, are all actually putting on this so called armor piece by piece. We are all unknowingly becoming this huge army it talks about in the Bible, and it's pretty amazing. We're winning this invisible war. It's getting pretty intense, and it's happening right now in front of our very own eyes.
Well, you hear a lot about it, but is there such a thing as a deep state? You bet there is.
You know, a lot of people call them the deep state. I
Yeah.
call it a malignant force. That's how I open the book. These are people.
Well
these
said.
Thank you. These are people in the intelligence community, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the State Department. They are people of like mind. They are all addicted to power.
In the armor of God, it says that we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places, and to put on every piece of this armor, so that you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. So put on the belt of truth and the breastplate of righteousness, wear the shield of faith, and wear salvation as your helmet, and keep your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace, and use the sword of the Spirit. So we actually have a whole setup here. We do have everything we need, and I'm just going to explain what the armor is and does in the Bible, and then I'm going to explain how we can use these tools to fight the deep state. And you don't really have to be religious to see this evil happening, and you don't have to be religious to use these tools either. So it tells us that we have a belt of truth because, well, it says Satan is the father of lies, and we want to be able to see through all of his bullshit. And it's very important that that is the first piece of armor. Then we have our breastplate of righteousness, and that is to protect our hearts, and the helmet of salvation to protect our heads where our thoughts are. And it's a vital piece of armor because an attack to the head could be fatal. Next, we need some footwear, so we have our boots, and our boots are always on and ready to spread the truth, the word of the truth, because the more and more people that believe the truth, the more pissed off the devil gets. And last but not least, we have our shield and our sword. And the shield of faith is made out of our faith to help us never lose doubt. And the sword of the Spirit is the Word of God, or the Bible. So next, I'm going to go back and focus on we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. We are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies. Who else haven't we seen in the flesh and blood who are evil rulers of the unseen world? The Illuminati, secret societies, the Cabal, All of this, all of these cliques and all of these people, we've never seen in the flesh and blood with our own eyes, but we know that they're out there. And they are evil rulers of the unseen world, the world that we everyday people don't get to see. And this did really blow my mind. It 100% does seem like the Bible is talking about some deep state stuff, and it's really scary, but it's really relevant to what's going on today. So many people have this conspiracy theory, which suggests there's collusion within the US political system, and that there's a hidden government within the legitimately elected government. And that sounds crazy that the Bible would be talking about it, but it's very true. In the Bible it says, "Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil." And I think they specify all strategies because the devil and his army will try to get you in any way they can. They are sneaky and deceiving, and they lie to us constantly. And in the Bible, it does say the world is controlled by the evil one.
I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. You have owners. They own you. They got you by the balls.
So when I searched up who owns half of the world's wealth, who is this top 1%, the first thing I get is an article that says just 8 men own the same wealth as half of the world. And Bill Gates is the first one on that list. So I thought that was very interesting that the first person I get is Bill Gates. Why would the Bible be talking about the deep state and protecting ourselves from people like Bill Gates? Well, the Bible says the world is being controlled by the evil one, and I don't think that's Bill Gates. I don't think he is the one, but I believe he could be involved or influenced by the one, the deep state. And it is actually all connected. It's all a ladder going up closer and closer to the evil ones in power, to the ones that we need to fight against. So many people, like Bill Gates, are not to be trusted. Why do we need to not trust these evil puppets? Why do we need to not trust Bill Gates? Well, when I look him up, Bill Gates tweeted, halting funding to the World Health Organization is crazy, and the world needs the World Health Organization. So what's the deal with Bill Gates and the World Health Organization? I thought to myself, well, the World Health Organization is largely influenced and funded by the Gates.
President Trump's decision to withhold WHO funding has upset one of the organization's most prominent supporters. Well, that's Microsoft founder Bill Gates tweeting in part, "Halting funding for the WHO during a world health crisis is as dangerous as it sounds. The world needs them now more than ever." Well, the truth is the group actually needs Gates more than ever. With the U.S. taking a pause, he'll now be their largest active donor. That's right, 1 out of every $10 that the WHO gets is from the world's second wealthiest man. So should we be concerned about how much one man has maybe an outsized influence with an obviously corruptible entity such as the WHO?
What a surprise, right? That Bill Gates, these people that we can't trust, are funding an organization that is mismanaging information. And not just that, but the World Health Organization. Of course not. That doesn't surprise me at all. It says right in the Bible that they are in control and they are evil and their motives are evil. I've also heard that he may have had some type of business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein may be dead, but this story isn't. A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. After Gates' name came up in connection with Epstein and MIT Media Lab, Gates gave a statement to the Wall Street Journal where he insisted he did not have any business relationship or friendship with Epstein. But new reporting from the New York Times outlines numerous meetings between Gates and Epstein and a conversation with Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, a connection between their foundation and J.P. Morgan to set up a charitable fund that would financially benefit Epstein. Gates says, no relationship, nada, nothing. You report these two men met at least 6 times.
The first person I look into, which is Bill Gates, already has all of these lies. So, God's armor is how we are going to protect ourselves from these evil people. It says that this armor can protect us when we use it properly and when it's worn daily. It will provide solid protection against the enemy's attacks. But what exactly are their attacks? Why are they going to attack us and how? Why would Bill Gates be funding organizations like that provide false information and misguide us? Well, when we look at the belt, which is our first piece of armor, because the armor will tell us a lot about how we can defend ourselves and fight against these people. It says that the belt will hold up our spiritual pants so that we're not exposed and vulnerable. Why would they want us exposed and vulnerable? Well, in the Bible it says Jesus Christ called Satan the father of lies, and that deception is one of his oldest tactics. And when we hold up all of these lies against the truth, we can see right through them. And the truth is that materialism, money, power, and even pleasure are not the most important things in life. So when you know these things are usually the motive for corruption, manipulation, and deceiving innocent people, you can see it better. And you can see that happening right now in today's society right in front of our eyes. The Bible is warning us about people like Bill Gates, these people that are in high positions of power. And it says, against mighty powers in this dark world. So they are real people walking among us that have dark motives, and they lie. And they do all of this for money, power, pleasure, all of these disgusting things. It's disgusting to know how much power one person or just a few nasty people have over the world. So, where would they start hiding information from us? What can they manipulate that we everyday regular people can't find the truth? Well, deception is one of the oldest tactics, and they can manipulate us by manipulating our news channels. In the morning or in the evening, every normal day people watch the news to see what's going on in the world, and the news is supposed to be a major source of our information, and we can't even trust it. For example, we got reporters like Anderson Cooper. He had deceptively reported on Hurricane Florence. He was standing in a ditch, creating a misleading impression that he was filming in waist-deep floodwaters, when his camera crew stood out of frame just a few feet away and the water barely touched their ankles. And that's just one example of the deception in today's dark world, like it says right in the passage. Also shows the type of people that they have reporting for the news. Why would they have people like that reporting for them? Well, because the news is being controlled by the CIA. They're controlling what goes on to television.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. And we're looking at that very carefully.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole news and public affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large-scale program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early 1950s. And in that video, he said by the end of 1954. So that's when it all began, and it hasn't ended since. They've been attempting to manipulate the news for propaganda purposes. So people like Anderson Cooper could be a great example of cronyism. Cronyism is the practice of bias in awarding jobs and other advantages to friends and trusted colleagues. And this happens especially between politicians and in politics in general. Cronyism is giving positions of authority regardless of qualifications. So hiring your buddy even though he's not really good at what he does. So the belt of truth is the first step to beating them. Jesus said that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So when you put that belt on, it's like you've opened up your eyes. And once you opened them and you see something a certain way, you can never see it a different way. And there's actually a term for this kind of thing. It's called transpersonal. It has been defined as an experience in which the sense of identity or self extends beyond the individual to encompass wider aspects of humankind. So like when you do shrooms or smoke for the first time and you think about something and you have a total mind-changing realization and you just can't believe you didn't see it before, and you have that feeling of, wow, I just opened my eyes to something amazing. So in the context that I'm talking about, when you put on your belt of truth, that's your first step. You have to open your eyes. You have to see outside of that norm. So to me, I think most of us already have this belt on. I think most of us don't believe everything we hear anymore. A lot of us are searching for facts every time, and we're not easily deceived because we're not exposed and vulnerable. We know that there's more out there, and a lot of us are fighting to get it now because we know that it's not right, we're being lied to. So question everything. And the mainstream media is bullshit, and they are constantly lying to us. But this ties into our second piece of armor, and that's the breastplate of righteousness. And this is where the second piece of the armor is a little bit harder to obtain because, well, most of us think we're righteous. But a lot of us are only righteous when it fits our own agenda. The definition of righteousness is the quality of being morally right or justifiable. And in the Bible, when you have this breastplate of righteousness on, you have Christ's righteousness or God's righteousness. And to me, that just means you're not righteous for yourself. So you seek justice in your heart. You want what's right because you know there's so many lies today. And you are ready to explain that to anyone with confidence at any time, and not just when you feel like it. You are not going to do what's morally right sometimes, but all the time, every time, because that's just what you should do. And it is possible because Christ was man and he was good, not only when he felt like it, he was Jesus Christ all the time. And that is what's going to protect you against these tricks, because it's so easy to do the wrong thing when it benefits you. For example, not that this is the wrong thing, but you'll get my idea. There's lots of people who will feed homeless people or do something good for somebody, but they will videotape it. And how many people do you think would actually do that? They would feed this homeless person because he's just hungry, and half of these people don't eat their lunch, or they don't like what their mom gives them anyway. So when people are good all the time just to be good and not to get anything out of it, that spreads. And that spreads really fast. And that is how the devil and the deep state are so much alike, because they want to stop us from spreading good morals. They want to stop us from just being good all the time. One of the other devil's oldest tactics is division.
A new report finding George Soros, the liberal activist billionaire, gave hundreds of millions of dollars to groups behind yesterday's Day Without a Woman protest. And they're the same groups who marched against President Trump the day after his inauguration.
And this march was not really about women's rights or equality for women, because if it was, I think we would have seen the march move to the front of the Saudi Arabian embassy. You have to ask yourself, why would a billionaire like George Soros fund all these organizations behind it? The reason is he's had a lifelong dream of one world government, of elites, redistributing wealth and setting up rules for the rest of us. And
you have billionaires paying protesters to stir the pot so that all of this stuff fits their own agenda. For obviously more money and power, all of those disgusting things that I listed off. If you wear this breastplate, There is no amount of money that can make you do evil. You would never protest in anything just because you want a paycheck. And I'm not really religious myself. I consider myself more of a spiritual person, but I can't deny what I'm reading. You don't have to be religious to see this evil and to know that it's pretty much swallowing us up whole. You don't have to be part of this corruption because it's wrong. Period. I know most of us are slowly putting on this armor as I speak. We are constantly searching for the real truth. We know that the truth is being hidden from us. We as a society are getting tired of it. We are tired of feeling exposed and vulnerable. We don't want to be part of the corruption. And we are tired of not being prepared on what's really going on because these big companies are controlling our lives for money and power. And we want the truth, even if it doesn't benefit us, because sometimes, you know what, the truth hurts, but it's what's right. It's what we deserve as a people. And our next piece of armor is something that we will need to help us spread this message, because it's only right to let the loved ones know what's going on, right? Well, really, you want to wake your brother and sisters up of all of that brainwashing and manipulation, right? We're going to need some of these, the gospel of peace boots. And they're very important because we're going to need some shoes on this battlefield because it could be rocky. You got to watch out for things, and that requires reliable footwear. Your enemy could be trying to scatter all kinds of traps possible to damage you. And we have traps set for us just like that.
Good evening. It's been nearly a week since a pair of local doctors held a news conference calling for shelter-in-place orders to be lifted across the state. 23 ABC's video of that press conference had garnered more than 5 million views on YouTube, but last night YouTube removed that video, stating it violated YouTube community guidelines.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. They censor our content all the time. We have traps set for us to get us thrown off of the path of winning our lives back. If they're removing it, then that must mean that it has to be fake. But what if it is true? We always have to be ready. We always have to have our boots on, because peace helps us stay grounded and at the same time stand our ground. And that 1% hates us standing united, and they want to divide us and create fear and confusion to people who are not wearing their belts. Because fear and uncertainty can threaten anyone to stop spreading a message of truth, if we can catch it, that is. And us opening our eyes and watching the world surrender to darkness, it's not easy, and it can easily get you tripped up. But with the readiness of peace boots and being able to spread your message and having more and more together, you won't have to fear as much of the debris on your battlefield. You won't have to worry so much about all of that. But why is the question? Why do they care so much about censoring our content? Why do they want us stopping from spreading the information is the question. If we're some crazy conspiracy nut jobs and we need to have our tinfoil hats on, why are they constantly deleting information or censoring our stuff? What kind of stuff are they hiding? Well, no one knows what to believe. Did Jeffrey Epstein really kill himself? What about the Hillary Clinton email scandal? The Pizzagate theory? Well, with all these elite pedophiles that seem to be running around, and even our own prime minister having his own scandals, and this deep state taking over our world, I know some of us has probably asked, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to go away? And it is so hard to keep faith that these things will ever be solved. But in the armor of God, it explains that no defense armor is as important as the shield, because it helps fend off Satan's deadliest weapon, doubt. Satan shoots doubt at us when God does not act directly or noticeably, but our shield fends off these attacks. So keeping your shield high means you know the truth and you're confident in the knowledge that you have been provided. And we've actually been provided knowledge, and lots of it. And some of us are pretty confident in the knowledge that we have. For example, WikiLeaks is a great one. WikiLeaks only started in 2006, and it's a great way for whistleblowers to leak classified documents anonymously. And a whistleblower is a person who exposes the inside of intelligence operations, anything that is deemed illegal or unethical, or not correct within a private or public organization. So WikiLeaks has information the government was hiding from us, and they have it right out there for all of us to see. So, for example, the information they have about Guantanamo Bay and the CIA's involvement in torturing people to crazy extents. And remember that the CIA is involved in censoring our media and our news, and they are doing stuff like this. And WikiLeaks released multiple war documents about the Iraq War, about all of these 15,000 unreported civilian deaths. These are innocent people. And we already had 107,000 already dead in Iraq. And WikiLeaks also released 250,000 diplomatic cables. And a diplomatic cable is known as a confidential text message exchange between an embassy or a foreign ministry. So it's a private communications lines for people like Hillary Clinton.
His greatest coup yet. 250,000 confidential cables sent by US diplomats have been released to 5 newspapers. They contain many explosive claims that were never intended to be made public. The Guardian newspaper, which got an advance viewing of the confidential documents, said they contain allegations of inappropriate behaviour by one unnamed member of the British royal family. There are also serious political...
One guess on who you think that is. Prince Andrew, maybe? He has allegations of being on Jeffrey Epstein's island and that he may be involved in some crazy shit. So, as more of us become woke, we are putting these puzzles together. And they love division amongst people and censoring our content and trying to make us doubt all of these things. And they don't want us united as people. Because when we all have that shield and we don't lose doubt, and we know that we won't always be under control of that 1%, and that there are good things happening behind the scenes, even though we don't see it, we have the pieces of the puzzles, and we're asking the right questions. And as more and more of us begin to put on this armor, and we're building this army, and we don't even know, we're winning. Because we are slowly putting all of our heads together and opening up our eyes, and the helmet of salvation is what's going to protect our heads, because this is where all of our thoughts and all of this knowledge exists and how we think. And it does say in the Bible, Jesus Christ said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And he said, if you're a true supporter or follower, you will follow my teachings. Then and only then will you know the truth. Then and only then will we be set free. And that's actually true, because like I said earlier, once you know materialism, money, and power and pleasure are not the most important things in life, we know those things are what usually leads to corruption. And those things will push us off of the path of really winning against these evil people and to be totally free. If you want to be truly happy and fulfilled, sooner or later, you're going to have to drop your materialistic values. And it's so true that a large part of society still believes that the things that you have are statuses that reflects the level of success someone has achieved. If, for example, so many people were buying Lamborghinis to impress others, that's being materialistic. Nobody's buying these cars because they like fast cars. So many people care more about objects and relying on materialistic things for their own well-being and basing their happiness and success off of these things. They shouldn't be living their life like this, because it's so easy to be tripped up into getting stuck into doing the wrong thing for nice things. Money is a great one. If you get everything you ever wanted because you have all this money and you do something very, very bad and nothing happens to you. Someone should not have that much power with money and power as well. If you do bad things to other people to get authority over them, that's just, not anybody in their right minds wouldn't do it, no matter how much power it got them, because that's just wrong. So when we have these helmets on, it also says that we have this peace that nothing can disturb. And well, we do, when we know we're being lied to and we know they are deceiving us, and these tricks can't persuade us anymore. We're becoming smarter, and we're asking the right questions. They can't control us. We're no longer exposed and vulnerable. Our minds have been swept clean of these morals. You do get this peace inside of you that no one can take from you now. Once your eyes are open, you can't close them. This knowledge is in your brain forever now, and that's what's going to set you free from that brainwashing. And in the Bible it explains, demolish the arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And we do that. We demolish arguments that go against these facts. The truth. We're starting to debunk information. People are trying to tell us how to think, and it's not working. We know the truth, and it makes it impossible. Our minds are out of the box now. We're searching for justice. And that brings us to our weapon, is the sword of the Spirit. The armor of God says we can strike at Satan using the word of God or the Bible, using your facts as a weapon. The truth, when you have the truth and the right motive in your heart, the right mindset, when you have all of these things, the truth always wins. So facts and knowledge can slice through these deep states, motives, and tactics like butter. We can actually do immense damage, especially when all of us know we're all standing together as an army and telling people to open their eyes, because actually more and more people, believe it or not, are starting to question. They're starting to open up their eyes. They're starting to begin to walk down this path. I was telling my brother about this podcast I'm making, and he actually told me really late at night that down this path there is chalk written on the path, and it said, and these are actually all around our neighborhood. When I went for a jog, it was by the park a few blocks down. So I know more and more people are starting to wake up and wanting to spread this message to other people and wake other people up. So my question to you is, do you have your armor on? Are you ready for war?
He says, for our struggle, it is not against flesh and blood, but it is against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. He says, so therefore, you better lay down all your earthly weapons that do not work and take up some weapons that will actually have benefits in your life.
Thank you for listening to my podcast, and stay tuned for the next one. Catch you guys later.